Hello, everybody. This is Brad Lewis with Premier Marketing, and I wanted to welcome everybody to today's call. So thank you very much for joining us. I'm really excited for, quite honestly, this overdue webinar that Paul and I have been talking about for some time now, and the timing couldn't be better to have Paul Gonzalez, Regional Director with AIG, on the call with us today. As we know, we're in unprecedented times, but thank goodness there's a lot of relief coming our way, it sounds like, with the world opening it back up a little bit. But really, today's call is going to be focused on a great partner of Premier's, AIG, with their guaranteed issue whole life product. And as we all know, if you've dealt with AIG, one of the best companies to deal with. And they've had a product in place for some time now that's really helped us all in the guaranteed issue space serve our clients and provide them with a great product that's just been a steady product in our industry for some time now. And they've always had good processes in place to help us achieve and meet with clients and place policies. But in today's world, or in today's environment, it's even more important to have a valued partner like AIG. And today, Paul's going to take us through some of the new normals, I guess you would say, based on the slide that he has up here that we have. And we will get him started on that in just a second. If you have any questions along the way, please chat them into the chat box. We'll get to your questions at the end of today's call. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Paul, and he'll walk us through what AIG has to offer with their guaranteed issue whole life product.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. And I do appreciate everyone joining today. This is definitely some interesting times. And just to kind of give you a little bit of background on me, I'm 15 years in June with AIG. I currently serve as the Regional Director for the Transactional Markets Group, which covers the guaranteed issue whole life product. We're based out of Houston, Texas, and I've been working from home since March 13th or so. My 3-year-old downstairs watching TV. I'm upstairs in my office nook delivering a presentation to agents who I assume are across the nation, and it's definitely a different environment. But what we found is that with some of the things that we had already been doing previous to all the changes in the world, we have a product and process in place that are really thriving in today's marketplace. For all the things that you hear about the economy, and for all the things that you hear about people and what they're dealing with, whether it's illnesses or friends or family affected by the illness, or even just the things that are going on economically with them having to redirect funds, it's really important to remember that we're in a business that is pertinent regardless of the market. We offer products to consumers that help meet needs that are extremely important in any environment, but especially in today's environment. And we want to always make sure that we're all connected in a way that we can continue to do business regardless of what's going on out there. And I'm lucky enough to represent a product that has a product and process in place that works very well in today's market and will continue to serve you as things get back to normal, as was mentioned before. With that, let's go ahead and get started with the presentation today. We are talking at AIG a lot about the new normal, and I'm not sure if I'm tired of that phrase yet or not. But what I am very glad is that our marketing team was very quick to put together some information for us that helps us to understand what's going on in the world and how we can help. It was really easy for me in late March to look around and say, I don't know how anybody's going to want to pick up the phone, schedule an appointment, talk about life insurance. But the numbers say otherwise. We were actually fortunate enough to find some information through Forbes that there's a 29% increase in the purchase of life insurance since January 20th of 2020. And that this is we got this information just over a month ago. Which is a huge number when you think about it, especially in a life insurance business that a lot of times feels like it's flat year over year. So to see a 29% increase in applications submitted just lets you know that it's now front of mind for people. A lot of people who may have been always thinking they wanted to get life insurance, it's not their top priority, but it's something they definitely think about from time to time. they're now taking action, which lets us know that the market is out there. There are needs that need to be met, and we're in the position to help them meet those needs. Just from initial solicitation of feedback from some of our own distribution partners, especially in the direct marketing space, who have the ability to track things like click-through ads and things of that nature, they saw a 50% increase in people not just going to a website and clicking on an ad, but actually calling into the call center and trying to complete an application. That just lets you know that this has really kind of rattled some people to the point where they want to start taking action. The market is there. You guys are in the position to bring a solution for their needs, and we hope that you find AIG to be one of those solutions that you want to present once you have that opportunity. We do have to meet differently these days, and that it really just depends on where you are in the country. What local or state ordinances are in place. But beyond that, the mental desire of your insured or your proposed insured to want to hold a face-to-face appointment or meet you somewhere in public in order to transact business. The good news is that there are companies that have opportunities for you to do business over the telephone without having to be a call center agent. That cell phone that you have in your hand is a great tool and one of the most powerful tools in today's environment. And as long as you have the ability to call somebody who is looking for insurance, you can have the same conversations that you would typically have face-to-face, and you can be creative and use things like FaceTime or some other viewing application where you can have the conversation face-to-face even though you're not sitting across the table from each other. And then if you're even beyond that, lucky enough to represent a company that allows you to have an e-application that can be completed from the comfort of your own home while the insured is also in the safety of their own home, you now have the ability to not only just win by continuing to be able to talk about business, but actually be able to place that business. And I think it's really important in today's world, but it's going to be important on a go forward. This is not something that's going to end quickly in regards to people just getting right back to saying, I'm comfortable with having somebody come in my home. I'm comfortable with going to a restaurant or a place of business in order to write business. I might be more comfortable staying at home. Here's an opportunity for you to learn the process in today's environment to keep your business going and to keep providing the policy to your customers that need it now. But again, it gives you an opportunity to have an additional way to do business on a go forward. The one thing that we are very well aware of, especially with a product like Guaranteed Issue Whole Life that's focused on the over 65 market, is that not all seniors are comfortable with technology, especially when you're looking at the 80 to 85-year-old range. But the important thing to know is there are several seniors who do have technology, who do have the ability to have access to the internet, who know how to open an email. So while it might not be a solution that's going to be available and easily and readily completed by every senior, there definitely is a large percentage of seniors that are comfortable enough and do have access. So you can continue to do business in this environment. You just might need to look at a different lead source or concentrate on a little bit younger market in your senior space to make sure that you find somebody who has the ability to open an email and complete a DocuSign process. But again, our market isn't zero. Our market is a fairly large number. It's going to take us to make sure that we find the right people who can handle technology enough to complete an application over the internet. The great thing about our e-application is we were touting this before any of this change in the world occurred. Our e-applications turn around very quickly. In fact, 90% of the e-applications that we get are turned around in less than 24 hours, meaning that everything that's come in is in good order and it's processed and ready to go. Now, that doesn't mean issued and paid. Of course, it depends on what type of payment method you use and whether you're future dating a policy. But again, the processing time that it would typically take for a paper application is almost double that of what it takes for our e-application. And the number of errors that we find on our paper applications are at a much higher clip than the number of errors on our e-application. Our e-application has a ton of verifications within the tool itself. So when you're logging onto the site, aig.com/GIWL, and you're walking insured through the e-application process, there's verification going on in the background to make sure the information is correct, and it'll give you a pop-up and it'll tell you if something is not correct, so you can correct that while you're doing the application, versus a paper app where if maybe you wrote a number incorrectly, they set a number in the wrong order. You submit that app, we have to then go back to you and get additional paperwork to clear up that error. So we definitely have already been touting this e-application as something that is important for you to use. But in today's environment especially, it's a great opportunity for you to use our e-application, get business in the door without having to leave the comfort of your home, have the insured sign the application without having to leave the comfort of their home, and submit a piece of business that's going to be in good order 90% of the time. This next couple of slides is really just going to focus specifically on the DocuSign via email. I know not all of you are currently writing AIG or have written AIG in the past, or maybe some of you haven't written in some time and aren't as familiar with the e-application as you want to be. We definitely have the opportunity to do a follow-up training at a future date to kind of walk you through the entire process. But the process that we really want to focus on today is that DocuSign via email. When you log into AIG.com, the process is very simple. You're going to run the quote, and the quote, all you're doing is getting, gender, date of birth, the face amount, or the monthly premiums that they want to pay, and then the state, and you're clicking run a quote, and it's going to get you your quote right there on the front screen. You'll click on start application, and then the application is extremely simple. It's demographic information and payment information. Once you've entered all that information, and it's gone through all those verification processes, you're going to get to the actual sign feature. In a typical environment where we're meeting face-to-face, you could use the DocuSign Now, e-sign documents now, and that's going to give you the opportunity to share your device with the customer, and they could finger sign or complete a DocuSign process. In today's world, we really want to focus on that e-sign documents via email. So in the event you're in your home on the phone, the customer's in their home on the phone, you'd click on a checkbox next to e-sign documents via email, and then you hit submit and continue. When you hit continue, you're going to get this screen up, and the thing you need to make sure of is that you get their personal email address, or an email address that they can open up to complete that process. So if they don't personally have an email, but their spouse does, or if the spouse doesn't have an email, but their adult child who lives with them has an email, you can send that email to them, and you'll hit continue. Once you hit continue, you're going to make sure you want to review that insured's email address is correct before you hit submit and continue one more time, just to verify that you've got the information correctly. This is also a good time for you to remind them that if they don't see the email in their inbox in a few minutes, to check their junk folder. Sometimes it can be there. Also let them know that it's not coming from you specifically. It's coming from a DocuSign email address, so just to kind of give them a heads up as to what's coming their way. If everything is correct, you'll hit submit and continue. And then you're going to read some confirmation statements and get an affirmative yes. And once you get the affirmative yes, you'll hit continue one more time. You'll be able to view on your own screen the status of that signature, whether it's in progress or it's still pending, especially if the situation is that you've got an insured who is different than the payor. They're going to get separate emails to complete their part of the DocuSign process. So you might have a completed next to the insured, but you need a completed next to the payor as well. This gives you an opportunity to know that you might need to reach back out to your customer and say, the payor did not complete the process. Can you make sure that they go and log in and complete that process as well? We will have a video coming out in the future that we'll put on our playbook to kind of walk you through this process if you're more of a visual learner. But again, you'll be able to see the status of those policies within AIG.com/GIWL. If you sent it and you're awaiting, you moved on to your next customer and then you wanted to go back and check, you can always check your dashboard within AIG.com/GIWL. So when you log into our website, in the top right corner, you'll see your name. You click the drop down and you'll click on dashboard, and it'll show you any pending policies that you have. In the event you need to resend that email for the signature, or in the event you wanted to cancel a policy because the customer called you back and said they changed their mind, you have the ability to do so. So when you click on that pending signature, you can, at this moment, resend with a new email address if they maybe gave you the wrong email address, or they're saying they didn't receive it, but they want you to send it to another email address. You can enter that information here and click resend. Or again, if they told you at this point that they want to cancel that application, you can cancel the e-signature request or delete the application in this place as well. So again, that's housed in your dashboard within the site itself, and you have the ability to manage that. For those of you who have been registered in the past and maybe you haven't had access to our platform in a while, we encourage you to reset your own password at aig.com/GIWL. Just under the login, you can either click on forgot password or forgot username, and you'll receive an email with the email that you registered initially that will provide you either the information for your username or a click button to reset your password. You could also use the alternate login method, where you're going to give us your last name, your date of birth, and your last four of your social, and it'll log you into the site, but it'll also send you an email with your username and a link to reset your password at that point. So 2 opportunities for you to kind of troubleshoot on your own if it's been a little while since you've accessed our site. If in the event that you've tried both of those things, you still don't get access, you definitely have the ability to call our technical support team at 877-399-7747, option 4. And then I'll just bring your attention to one more thing, even though it's not really discussed on this slide. For those of you who are either new to the product or want a refresher on the product, there is this opportunity to click on the GIWL playbook link at the bottom of the site. The playbook is basically an open access site that has the ability to open up our producer guide, consumer guide, a manual rate sheet, some additional marketing materials that could also be used for consumer level. But again, it's a great platform and a great site to get additional information. You can also look through the PowerPoint training for the overall onboarding that we would typically do. The PowerPoint is available on the playbook as well in the event you want to walk yourself through a product training. Just as a refresher on the product itself, again, this is a guaranteed issue whole life product, meaning there are absolutely no medical questions. There are a few questions that would be considered quote unquote knockout, and that's only because we only allow this policy to be issued to a person with a social security number, so they must be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. If they say they're not, then they won't qualify for coverage. The only other thing that we don't allow is for replacement business with this product, so that they say, yes, I'm trying to replace life insurance with your product, it's going to say they can't move forward with the application. But there are no health questions, there is no underwriting at all, which again, in today's environment, I hear things are getting better now, but there was a time where, trying to get any type of underwriting, whether it's, to collect blood urine analysis, getting any additional forms, it was just a nightmare to get things done. With a product like this, all you're worrying about is submitting an application, making sure the payment information is good, and making sure there are funds available when we go to draft the account. There are no additional needs for anything beyond the application submission, and it works very well, again, in today's environment or any environment. Our face amount goes from $5,000 up to $25,000 in $1,000 increments. Our issue age is age 50 to 85. And this is a graded death benefit product. So the first 2 years, you're going to receive 110% of the premiums paid into the policy as the death benefit. Year 3 and beyond is when they qualify for the full face amount. And we do have 2 additional benefits built into the base policy, which I think helps to differentiate us even further in the marketplace. So not only do we have a great guaranteed issue product issued by a great company, but we also have 2 additional options that an insured can utilize in the event they would be diagnosed with the inability to perform 2 of the 6 activities of daily living, or where they were diagnosed with a situation where they have 24 months or less to live. They have additional access to cash from the policy in order to take care of any immediate needs, and then the remaining death benefit is there for their beneficiaries upon their passing. I want to kind of highlight those 2 benefits just a little bit further so we're all clear on how they work, because I do think it's important for you to help your customer understand all the value they get from the policy that's offered through AIG. So let's start with the chronic illness rider. And again, that's going to be defined as the loss of the ability to perform 2 of the 6 activities of daily living. It is a one-time lump sum payment that will pay out upon that diagnosis. It's going to return 100% of the premiums paid into the policy, up to 25% of the face amount with no waiting period. So in this hypothetical example, we've got a male age 65 He purchases $10,000 in coverage, and he's giving us annual premiums of $1,009 for that coverage. So in year one, he's diagnosed with the chronic illness. His death benefit in year one, because he paid an annual premium of $1,009, again, 110% of his premiums paid. So his death benefit will be $1,109.90. His chronic illness benefit is going to be 100% of his premiums paid into the policy at that point. So he would be able to take out $1,009. That would leave a remaining death benefit of $100.90. In year two, his death benefit, again, 110% of the premiums paid into the policy to that point. So his death benefit would be $2,219.80. The chronic illness benefit would allow him to pull back all of the premiums paid into the policy to that point, $2,018, and would leave a remaining death benefit of $201.80. From years 3 and beyond, he would now have qualification for the full face amount of the death benefit, $10,000. He's maxed out at $2,500 for that chronic illness benefit, and the remaining $7,500 is the death benefit for the beneficiary. So again, up to $2,500 in the situation where you're issuing $10,000 face amount policies, that an insured can access that cash to handle any immediate needs while they're dealing with the loss of the activities of daily living, but still have a remaining death benefit to cover those final expenses. The terminal illness rider works a little bit differently. It's going to accelerate 50% of the death benefit if they're diagnosed with less than 2 years to live. We're going to use a very similar example: 65-year-old male, $10,000 in face amount, $1,009 in annual premium. The one thing I will say is this is an immediate day one benefit. Both are, but again, the longer you're in the policy, the more valuable these benefits become. The death benefit in years 1 and years 2 is 110% of premiums paid. So in years 1 and years 2, they're getting 50% of that 110% premiums. So the death benefit in year 1 is $1,109.90. The terminal illness benefit will be half of that death benefit, $554.95, and the remaining death benefit will be $554.95. In year 2, they've now paid 2 premiums, so their death benefit is $2,219.80. The terminal illness would be $1,109.90, and they would have that remaining $1,109.90 as the death benefit. And then from years 3 and beyond, again, they're qualifying for the full face amount of the death benefit of $10,000. That terminal illness benefit is now $5,000, and they would have the ability to collect $5,000 upon their passing and pass on to their beneficiaries. So again, 2 opportunities within the base policy, not riders, not anything that costs anything additional, all built into the pricing. The ability to get a graded death benefit product with 2 additional living benefits. I think that's a real differentiator in the marketplace, and something that your insured should know that AIG offers them by purchasing this type of coverage. So that's pretty much the end of today's presentation. I hope that it really kind of helps to let you know why AIG is a great option for you in today's new normal. We really want to make sure that you guys are familiar with our e-application site, aig.com/GIWL. Again, if you have any questions about the product, that other site is aig.com/GIWL Playbook. 2 very easy things to remember to be able to either write business or learn about how to write the business with our product. There will be some additional videos coming soon. If you're more of a visual learner, we'll try to have upload some training videos from time to time to the Playbook. So be sure to kind of bookmark that Playbook site in your browser. And then again, I'll mention again, if you can troubleshoot on your own to try to get through any issues you might be having logging in, try to troubleshoot first. But if for any reason you continue to have issues, I would call our technical support team at 877-399-7747, option 4. That's the end of my presentation. I definitely wanted to leave some time to answer any questions. So at this point, I think I'll turn it back over to Brad.
Hey, thanks, Paul. I really appreciate it. You did a great job on the call today. If you do have any questions, please get them chatted into the question box on the GoToMeeting site here, and we can definitely get to those as they come along. A couple things that really stuck out to me, and I'll probably be a little bit repetitive of how Paul closed as well, but one of the first things Paul said in this presentation is that they've been doing business this way all along. I think that's important when you pick a partner to do business with, that the way they're doing business today isn't any different than what they did before. So their systems are in place, they're consistent, they're reliable, and in times such as this, that's really, really important that we know we can count on that. I think the process itself is obviously very easy for you and your clients out there, so it's a perfect product for that as well. And I don't think nearly enough about the riders that Paul emphasized at the end of the call as well. He talked about the chronic illness and the terminal illness riders that are included in the product, so there's no additional cost. I think that's a big selling point when you're talking to your clients, that you can definitely emphasize with them to make sure that they know the additional benefits they're getting besides the fact that their final needs will be taken care of at the time of their passing, that they actually have access to money earlier than that if it should arise. So, and one last thing that I wanted to emphasize as well is that playbook. I know Paul gave the address to that playbook. That's priceless. AIG has always done a great job with their playbooks for their different product lines, and the GIWL is no different, of course. So it's a great resource for you. It's at your fingertips. It's always updated because it's a live working document that you click on to get to. So definitely make sure that you get to that as well. So. And I'm just going to go ahead and check the questions here, Paul, just to see what we have here. We do have a question on voice signature to see if that's available. Is that an option available on this product?
It's currently not an option available for our traditional brokerage agents. It's reserved specifically for call center environments. Just to kind of give you some inside stuff, AIG is working very hard to try to find solutions for agents to write business, not only in today's environment, but in the future. So we definitely are looking at adding a voice signature option in the near future. But in the current state, the e-sign via email is the best way to go.
Perfect. I had myself muted there. And then as far as the product availability, California, is that a state that the product's available in?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Our product is available in all states except New York and Maine. In California, the additional benefits are not included in the policy, and there's a small handful of other places like District of Columbia where only one of the benefits are available, and that information is definitely on our playbook. But again, 48 states have the policy, and I believe 46 of those states have the policy exactly as issued. So you should be confident in the majority of the country that you have the ability to offer this product.
Perfect. Yeah, you guys did a great job rolling it out and making sure it was approved in all states. That's important for all of us. As far as the playbook, can you give that address again for accessing that? I got a lot of people asking on that playbook.
Absolutely. So it's aig.com/GIWL playbook, PLAYBOOK. And again, that site does not require any username or password. It's an open site. So if you have not been appointed with AIG, you can still go on the site and get all the information that you're looking for to train yourself up and get familiar with our product.
Perfect. And we focus today really on the electronic process. But I do have a question in regards to, seniors not having email perhaps, and paper app options, how they can accommodate the client that doesn't have access to email. Can you just touch on that real quick as well?
Absolutely. So within that portal, aig.com/GIWL, you do have the ability to access the forms, the paper application kit. We don't have them housed in any other format, so you wouldn't be able to find them on Forms Depot or any of those type of sites. So you'd need to have a 5-digit agent code. You would log into aig.com/GIWL. You'd go to Forms, and then you'd pick the state that you want to download the application kit, and you could print out the applications at that point. It's important for you to know that when you print out that application, it's pre-printed with your name and your 5-digit GIWL agent code on it. So you really can't share those applications or try to get access to applications before you get an appointment. So make sure if you're not appointed with AIG that you reach out to your marketer, get an agent code as soon as possible so you can have access to the site and download those application kits if you prefer paper, or if you feel like you've got customers who would not be able to utilize the e-application.
And are you okay with, or is, I should say, AIG okay with that being sent through the mail to the client during times like this?
Absolutely. I would suggest leaving pertinent information blank, Social Security number, for example. But you could definitely help a customer by filling out an application to the most of the information that you feel comfortable sending in the mail, sending to the customer for completion. We request the apps come back by fax, and the fax number is actually on the front page of the forms kit, and that may be the situation that causes a little bit of issue, unless they plan on mailing it back to you to fax. But again, in today's environment, things are a little bit different. We typically don't like to get these by mail, but in a situation where that's the only way the customer can submit them to us, there is a mailing address on there as well. But again, it's not the ideal way to do business with this product in any environment. But in today's environment, especially, we just want to make sure that, if somebody's trying to get coverage as quickly as possible, that we try very hard to use the e-application in any situation where it can be used.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Paul. And then I do have one other question here, it looks like so far. So if you have any more questions, make sure you get them typed in here. We're getting close to the end of the call today with the questions finishing up here. But as far as declining a client, you did mention that there are a couple reasons a client would be declined. Obviously, this is a guaranteed issue product, so health isn't taken into account. But can you just kind of cover that again real quick, Paul?
Absolutely, yeah, and so it's really important to know we have no health questions. So there's no health history that you have to be concerned about when you're writing a policy like this. What we are looking for is that they're a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, so they must have a Social Security number in order to apply for coverage. The payor as well must also be a U.S. citizen. And the only other reason why we would reject a policy is in the event they're saying they want to replace an existing life insurance policy with our product, because we don't want that clock to have to restart on an individual who already has a full face amount product or is closer to a full face amount death benefit to restart that clock to 2 years. So we don't accept replacement business, and that's the only time you would put something in the e-application or check the box on the application where we would reject it. That being said, it's really important to also know that the mortality experience that we have with this product is extremely important to pricing. And while you want to give coverage to as many people as you can, you definitely don't want to use this in a situation where for a fact somebody has a very short lifespan ahead of them. There's a difference between having existing conditions that don't allow them to get other coverage and having a condition where we know that something, their time could be a lot sooner than that. And we've got to be very cognizant of that. So, perfect example that I like to use is, I've got a mother who's age 72. She was diagnosed with lung cancer a year and a half ago. Luckily for us, we live in Houston, Texas, and have access to some of the greatest care available. She was able to get care very quickly. She is now, in remission. If she were to go out and try to apply for most policies, she's going to fail to qualify because of the look-back periods for cancer. But she could qualify for a guaranteed issue whole life product. She's healthy. She's, happy. She walks around. Everything's fine. But most carriers would say no because of her recent diagnosis. In a GIWL product, we won't say no to somebody like that. So those are the type of situations where I really think this fits, where you've got individuals who are looking for coverage, who have had some recent history or have some conditions that are under control. But it disqualifies them from life insurance. It gives them the opportunity to qualify for a product and get up to $25,000 in coverage without anybody asking any questions or doing any background from a medical perspective.
Boy, I think that's a great point, Paul. Sometimes we lose track of that when we're out serving our clients because we want to work hard to get them coverage, but even with guaranteed issues, sometimes there's clients that it's really just not suitable for. And I appreciate you pointing that out because that is really important, like you mentioned, from the pricing of the product and sustainability of the product, we have to make sure as producers and agencies that we take care of the carrier as they're taking care of us. And we want to make sure that the product is long-standing and it can keep the promises that it's making to us as an industry, and that commissions and all those types of things can stay as close to as is as possible. So I really appreciate you pointing that out. Partnerships in this business are very important, and as agents and agencies, we need to be cognitive of how we take care of the carrier as well. So thanks for mentioning that. I do have one final question. It's kind of a follow-up here. Actually, I missed it when I first asked the question about mail, but if a lot of agents are doing this, this is a great point to bring up, Doug, so I appreciate you mentioning it. But a lot of agents are stopping by and doing sales at the porch. Actually, they're setting up a chair outside and selling through the screen door, perhaps. And Doug had a question: is it okay to drop it off out on their doorstep, come back and pick it up later? Is that an acceptable sales practice? Is what his question is on that.
Yeah, absolutely. The main point that we want to make sure is that they're being clearly explained the product. So whether you're doing that by phone or through a screen door or a porch conversation where you're standing a acceptable distance away from each other, all of that is fine. None of that changes in this environment and other environments. The main point is the customer understands what they're purchasing. They have the ability to fill out the application on their own. And if you're handing them their own application, that actually would give us great indication of what they understand what they're purchasing, because they're taking the time to fill out the application themselves. So I don't see an issue with that practice at all. The main thing is that with a graded death benefit product especially, we just want to make sure that they're being explained what they're getting, because what you don't want is the tail end of that application coming in, something occurring, and then they feel like they weren't clearly explained what they purchased. But yeah, I don't think there would be any problem with somebody dropping an application off, as long as that pre-sale and that conversation about the product and how it works has been explained.
All right, perfect. And obviously, there's PHI included on applications, so you just want to be secure with the document to make sure that it's not accessible to someone other than the agent and the client. So that'd be the only other thing that I would mention as well, to make sure. And then I do have another question. Will a client be covered after if they have had lung cancer, like you mentioned? I guess you kind of gave that as an example, but they're in remission or feeling, or that they're in recovery right now. Is that something that they can get coverage for? And I know your answer to that is they would be eligible for the guaranteed issue product. We just want to be cognitive of the fact, or make sure we're aware of the fact that to make sure the client is on the heel, I guess you would say. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I think that the best way to put it is that this policy is intended for those who are looking for coverage and may have difficulty qualifying for coverage with other product. But the second step is always to be very mindful of the fact that the way these products are able to be offered and able to be priced the way they are is that you can't have this policy be the last resort product that you offer, or a product that you offer in situations where there's going to be a death claim within the first 2 years. It's not just detrimental to the company, but it's detrimental to you as an agent because of those severe chargeback penalties. You get enough of those chargebacks, which accumulates as debt, and now you've got the issue of trying to sell more product to make up for that debt. So you've got to be mindful of those things. But again, if we're clearly talking about a situation where somebody is diagnosed with a situation that would disqualify them for other coverage, but the eyeball test tells you that this person is actually taking care of the situation or doing all they can to take care of that situation, you definitely have the opportunity to offer a product like this with the guaranteed issue product that we discussed today.
Perfect. All right, well, that looks like that concludes the questions for today. Again, Paul, I wanted to thank you for being on the call. I think you gave some great stats on sales and how how exciting sales are with clients right now. I know in this time, there's probably more awareness than we could have ever asked for in our industry in life insurance sales. So there's a lot of people that are completing lead cards. So I would definitely make sure that you touch base with your marketer if you haven't talked about leads and how to access them through Premier yet. We definitely want to help you make sure that your pipeline's full. And just want to take another moment to thank everybody for taking time out of the day to be on the call today. Great call today, Paul. Thanks for your help. We appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for attending.